Welcome back, friends. Here we are, ready to get started on making our drawing of some cherry blossoms. 'Tis the season to be thinking about that kind of thing. So I have a long, skinny piece of paper just because I think it's interesting with a big, long branch across here, but you can do this on any size piece of paper that you want. And the first thing that we're thinking about in the classroom is using the rule of thirds. And so the rule of thirds looks like you're dividing this long line into 1/3 sections, which is actually really hard to think about. So what I want to do is think about what it would look like to take this piece of paper and fold it into about 1/3. And if I go like this without actually putting a crease in it, I can kind of mark my spot and mark a spot over here, and then I have it marked. It's 1, 2, 3 even sections, and I'm going to make a super light line. And the best way for me to make a super light line is to hold my pencil over here by the eraser, and then the line becomes very, very light. Now, I will warn you, I'm drawing pretty dark on here so you can actually see the line. I usually wouldn't draw this dark on a piece of paper. Then, if you think about it going this way, you can do that same idea. You can roll it or turn it so it's kind of that in 1/3. It's a little bit more challenging. On the skinny side, I'm going to mark it and mark it. Go like this, and now I'm going to make a long straight line going this way and a long straight line going this way. And what it tells me is that this, and this area, these 4 areas are my hot spots. So instead of always having your artwork be right in the middle or off to one side, putting some ideas on these hot spots actually makes a viewer's eye come into your artwork and kind of start looping around so it doesn't want to leave. It's kind of like being really good at advertisement, like what's going to catch the person's eye and want them to buy our product. That's kind of like this called the golden rule, but getting some really juicy art information on not all of these, because then obviously everything's right back in the middle. So just on some of these to get our eyes looping around. So what I like to do is, instead of putting my branch, when I'm going to draw my branch, my main branch, instead of putting it right in the middle of my paper, which is definitely what most students do, I'm going to put it on one of these lines that's going to drive me to the hot spot. So I'm going to come in over here, come up, and then go like this. And I do have some images here of cherry blossoms, and they're all different kinds of images. So there are close-ups of just the flowers with some sticks in the background, or some ones where you can see more of the sticks. It's really good to be able to look at, an image. Or in class, I actually have bought cherry blossoms, not live ones, but just fake ones that students have out on the table for them to look at. So what I'm going to do is just start here with my first line, like I said, hit my hot spot. I'm going to go up to this hot spot over here, and then I'm going to stop. My next line I'm going to draw is going to go near the hot spot. It doesn't have to exactly be on the hot spot. And then I'm going to go off the page. Having some information go off the page is very interesting to viewers, and so I think it's a really smart way to work sometimes. It lets them imagine what's there, so it kind of keeps their thoughts in your artwork too. Coming off of these hot spots, I'm going to draw some other branches, and I want to be sort of more random about it. I'll be honest, it's hard to be random, but you want to try to be random, and it looks then more like nature rather than like a human made it, okay? So I'm going to now make my branch be nice and thick, so I'm going to fatten up this line, and I'm going to draw it to the end here until it finally gets skinny. I'll do the same thing on this one, making sure that this branch is thinner than this one, making sure that these branches are thinner than this one, because that's how trees grow, right? These branches aren't thicker than the main branch, they're just little teeny tiny ones. And now what I can do is erase all this great information that helped me make my plan. So I'm going to erase all these lines up, and because I want to create a background. How I'm going to create a background today is by using chalk. If you have chalk at home, that's a great idea. You could use the side of a crayon, you could use the side of Cray-Paw. It'll be a little bit trickier to move through this, but you know, however you want to fill up your background is up for you to decide. You can use watercolor, but I just really like chalk. It's inexpensive and it works pretty well. So I chose 2 colors today because I wanted to imagine me looking at my cherry blossom and having just sky be behind it. Kind of like this one is sky behind it, and then you can see some pink because there's other cherry blossoms. This one has green background. This one is obviously like taken in a studio or something, so it's just white background. This one has green. Let me just show you some other ones that I've done in the past. You can see this background is like greenish with some blue. This one is a really dark blue, so it gives it a certain kind of feeling. And this one kind of feels like the morning sunrise amongst it. So your colors really do make a huge impact on what your artwork will look like. So what I'm going to do to use chalk is I don't want to make sharp lines in the background. I want it to look like a smooth blend. So if that's my goal, I need to use the side of the chalk. And I need to use the side of the chalk lightly. So I'm going to make super, 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 super gentle marks here until I get some good chalk dust built up on my page. Yes, I'm drawing over my pencil lines because they're dark enough so I can see it. And don't go rubbing hard. The minute that you start rubbing hard, you're going to get these really blotchy chalk marks that you can't get rid of, and it starts to look like your background is polka dotted rather than having it be soft and smooth. So hey, let me show you what that looks like. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Now I've already kind of ruined my piece. It's not terrible, but so when I go to show you this, I want to show you what it could look like with the smooth blend and then what it looks like to have that on there. I'm taking my paper towel right now, and I'm going to take all this light chalk dust and I want to blend it together to create a nice smooth background like you saw in my other demonstration pieces. And right now I think, whoa, that looks like a terrible mistake. So I need to add some more. I went light and almost too light. You're better off going light and then coming back and hitting it again with some chalk than going dark and not having an opportunity to fix it. So I'll go over here and kind of blend this in more. Now, I have another fresh layer of chalk, and you could see I barely added anymore, and boom, it's giving me this fantastic smooth blend. The chalk dust, it's like you just get a little bit and all of a sudden, oh my goodness, it's plenty enough. So you really have to be gentle about your layering. Let me show you what it looks like to add too much. You can see these harsh lines, and they don't really want to go away with the darker colors, and they end up looking kind of blotchy. So I would just recommend going lighter. Now I'm not going to finish this piece because it's a demonstration and you need to be moving on with your things. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab my paint. And I just want to start off with my brown right now. With my brown, I'd like to get in here. And sometimes I like to outline so I can draw my brush like this that goes with the lines. And you can see how that brush got really dry over there. Well, that's not what I'm looking for my lines. I want to have some nice, sharp, crisp lines. And so what I like to do is have my brush be perpendicular to the line like this. So instead of going with the line, in order to get the smooth lines, I like to go against the line. So my line is like this and my brush is like this. I would turn my paper, or I can go like this. It's way easier to turn your paper. And please make sure that this goes off the edge of your paper, for goodness gracious, because really when you think about it, the line doesn't just start off in the middle of the sky, right? So I'm practicing my perpendicular strokes. Please pay attention to the fact that as you paint, you really are dipping a lot. I mean, I'm dipping and brushing and dipping and brushing. I don't really like my end of my paintbrush to get really goobery, so I'll come through here and I'll kind of wipe it off in the middle of this. Tempera paint dries really fast. You can use acrylic paint too on this, but Mrs. Samla is using tempera paint. It doesn't work as well with watercolor, what painting technique I'm using right now, but you can try it with watercolor as well. So I'm going in here and just getting it all painted. So my idea is to outline it first and then fill in later. It's a little bit more fun. And like I said, you can clean off your brushes like in the middle of this. And you don't want it to be really chunky. You actually want it to be smooth in the end. I mean, not totally smooth because it's a branch, so don't worry about that. The last thing I want to show you is my little trick. So my paintbrush is shaped like a bullet. It's pointy. And so is my branches. So I'm going to go down and get a nice crisp line, and I'm going to push harder, and my branch is done. Check that out one more time. Take your brush, get it loaded, make sure it's a point, lay it on a point like this. Feeling good, okay, lay it down on your point, and then press down a little bit harder, and then you've got it done. You can go back and fill it in later if you need to. I didn't quite get to the end. Here we go, perfect. Done. Isn't that slick? So use your tools, you know, think smarter, don't work harder, and get everything all painted up in there, okay? So this will take you to the next video, and all I'm looking for is a smooth background with whatever tools you can make to create a smooth background. You can be creative and use your ingenuity at home. And then I'm looking for things that feel like our Y tree that we studied last year in 2nd grade when we were making our tree house. So we're looking for these nice thin lines coming to thicker lines, and practicing some brush strokes to make it feel like our tree is branching out like a real tree does. So have fun painting, friends, and check out the next video. Thanks. Bye.